Asking for it. A novel approach. Episode 16. Chapter 61. You see, Adamus, most scholars will speak of another beginning for Zeus. They rob Cabelimata of her rightful place as mother to the gods. They only speak of her love for the boy shepherd, Attis. That boy was so beautiful, and Cabeli's love for him so strong, that it made for some madness between gods and men. A monster was born, a monster so hideous, so terrifying it had to be half castrated. From its blood a tree grew up. A naiad picked its fruit and bore a child from that. The boy's features have bunched up in a little frown, but he's too polite to interrupt. Oh, I see, naiads. Yes, a lot of people have trouble with them. Female water spirits, essentially. They're half divine. Oh, but to resume, the great goddess Cabelimata was not only the beginning of everything, she is also that force that keeps us all alive. She inspires the love that drives us to our greatest works and to our greatest sacrifices. It's got to have been half an hour since this boy first knocked on his compartment door. Jims should have called for someone on the train's staff before now, but even now he does not. He's been struck by the boy's charms, his innocence and his air of propriety, by his frankness, his curiosity, and the intelligence in his clear gray eyes. Chapter 62. At the Anti-Valentine's Day's event, the crowd is now in a raucous, festive mood. The early fights on the card are done. After a high-energy interval, drinks are ferried back to seats. The DJ dials back her volume, and the audience can chat without shouting. 2 or 3 more minutes pass, then, for the first time since the show began, the lights go down to black. After a few more seconds, a brilliant follow spot finds Teddy where she pulls down the dangling mic to rouse the crowd for the main event. In the dark, Lance and the Edge have escorted Michaela to the ropes behind Teddy. She climbs into the ring without Teddy's noticing. All right, then, how about them beatdowns, Lucy? Put your hands together. Put them together now! Michaela is wrapped up from head to the tops of her boxer's boots in a plush purple fighter's warm-up robe. She throws back the hood and a cheer goes up from the audience. They recognize the sensual poster pirate and give her a hero's welcome. Teddy still hasn't seen Michaela. She gives the crowd an "well, about time" look and paddles the air, encouraging the applause with her free hand. Michaela waves to the crowd while keeping out of sight behind Teddy. She performs a luxurious stretch before shrugging off the robe. Lance collects it efficiently and disappears back into the shadows behind the crowd. The applause finally abates. That's what I'm talking about. I knew you'd give it up for me. Yeah, give me that sugar. Teddy does some macho posing, feeding on the house's excitement. Michaela mimics Teddy's bluster, swaggering up to stand fully a head taller, arms crossed, biceps flexing just behind the MC. Laughter replaces the applause, and Teddy feigns incomprehension. She strides over to one set of the ropes, stretching her 5'2" frame out toward the spectators, up on her toes. Now what the fuck's so funny, Lucy? You cheap bitches. Free show and it's all a big joke for you, huh? I thought we were getting somewhere. One tough crowd, y'all. What's it take to get in those pants of yours? Seriously, I mean, I can't fuck everyone here, but hey, if all the attractive audience members could, form a line on the way out after the show, maybe? That would be great. Yeah, okay, just fooling around. The spotlight hits Michaela's mile-wide smile where she leans out from behind Teddy, one side and then the other. The new bursts of enthusiasm from the crowd embolden Teddy. She's begun alternating body languages. For the most part, she's still working the Las Vegas Playboy Lounge act, with regular dashes of swaggering jock mixed in. But now there are moments her bravado breaks down. The crowd laughs with Michaela. Teddy looks worried. She looks over her shoulder with the air of a misbehaving preteen. Michaela dodges to avoid notice whenever Teddy turns to look behind her. In between dodges, she keeps up the hamming. Flipping hair back, batting her eyes, she confides almost lewdly in her audience. It's a routine, but they are eating it up. Teddy attempts to win back the audience with a final macho gambit. Okay, little more information for you here. When I was in high school, I did the entire senior football team. Yeah, no shit. Invited them all over to my place for 7 o'clock. 7 o'clock, I'm down the bar entertaining the entire senior football team's girlfriends. Bada bing! Bada boom. More than one way to skin a cat, right? Am I right? There's fucking and then there's getting fucked, yo. Am I right? Well, Teddy's tuxedo to drag king act has garnered some good laughs, but it's Michaela that has the lion's share of their divided attention now. 5'10" and oh so fit, she cuts an imposing athletic figure in her black stretch shorts, sport tank, and boxer's boots. Eyes flashing, teeth agleam, and a big feisty smile, she's seduced everyone in the house. Finally, she drops the smile, adopts a down-to-business demeanor, begins pacing back and forth, caged tiger style, ever closer to Teddy's sightlines. Chapter 63. In Miami, a call girl is waiting. Her understanding of men's psychosexual foibles is nuanced and time-tested. Indeed, call girl is a misnomer. The woman's in her mid-40s. Her bearing recalls a motherly schoolmarm. Among the specialties listed in her profile is something coyly referred to as the matron's choice. Jims has engaged her to help him meet his end. He's mulled over the subject long into the nights for more than a week now. And it is not a new subject. For several years he's imagined a graceful, not merely graceful, a devotional and well-deserved end. The motherly matron for hire, however, knows nothing of this determination. The early light of day penetrates Jim's compartment, broken by shadow on an irregular rhythm as the train passes clusters of buildings and vegetation alongside the tracks. How life itself carries one along. Each dark interval has Jim's reflecting on mortality. The boy, Adamus, blinks in the broken sunlight. Jim's regards him, now with the poignant sense of fellow feeling for a human still to encounter life's many trials, now with the distracted air of the condemned man deeply involved in reconciling himself. Adamus is asking him something, his little lips forming words, opening and closing fish-like, words emanating as if under water. Jim's vision swims as well. He is not losing consciousness. He's swooning. The boy's smooth round features, the pristine youth in them, bring a silent tear to Jim's eye. "Why are you crying, mister?" The compartment is now suffused with the bright morning's light. Still it keeps Jim's keenly aware of a darkness hounding him. So much light now. The boy is light itself. For all the SDMP's woman-forward initiatives, its long history of benevolence, For all his opting out of patriarchy, its conquests of, its dominion over the meek. After all this, Jims feels he's been simply woefully reactionary. He sees how his brand of redemption has come at a chilling cost. Servility is a cast of mind, however selective, that enfolds one in shadow. The self-deprecation so natural to him has done unnatural things to Jim's life. Belated as this realization has come, yet he would have for his epitaph, "Venerate none above the one true self." Washington Adamus Coxwell sets out to find someone to help the old man. And when he's found someone, he's going to ask his parents about this Cabeli matter, about half-caste 8, and which gods were really here first. Chapter 64. Michaela finally tires of evading Teddy's notice. When the MC takes a couple of steps back, preparing her next line, Michaela trips her, catching her in a deep tango dip, just above the canvas. Teddy's body is limp, arms hanging loose at her sides. Michaela cradles her with one arm. In place of a kiss, she poises her free fist above Teddy's face. The crowd roars. Michaela's menace is teasing them. Teddy's expression vacillates between mock horror and swooning. Michaela consults the crowd with a suggestive grin. There's a lot of whistling and woohoos. When she hoists the MC back upright, unharmed, there's a chorus of disappointment. Teddy wipes her brow, an exaggerated expression of relief. She pats her breastbone as if settling her heart back into rhythm, and makes a big deal over catching her breath. Phew! Well, all right, okay. Thanks for the big heads up there, Lucy. Real helpful. Okay, whatevs. Yeah, so not sure my little heart can take much more excitement, but it sure sounds like y'all are ready for the main event. The timing is perfect. The crowd is ready for blood. Maybe it's only the lighting, but it seems to Lance there is even more mischief than usual in Michaela's eye. The lights go down. He is enjoying anticipating his star's moment to shine. When the lights come back up, Lance is surprised. Michaela's wearing nothing but a primitive leopard-skin toga. A crude wooden club hangs from a belt at her waist. What's more than surprising is the big black fake beard on her face. Lance cannot believe his eyes. For a moment his mouth is frozen in a big O, like an "oh my God." Beginning in ancient Greece, Michaela and the Edge recreate some of history's most famous fight scenes. Michaela consistently taking the victor's part, of course. This playing at fighting was not discussed with Lance. The performance is not lacking in dramatic charm, only the visceral and bruising impact of genuine abuse are missing. From Hercules throttling some Trojan, they move on to the Roman Forum and a gladiator pairing. Lance has to hand it to them. The costume changes are minimal, rapid, and seamless. The whole thing is coming off passably professional. A medieval skirmish precedes a dukes-up bout of the Marquis of Queensberry's rules. They are convincing in their roles, and Teddy is doing snappy intros and a little wry commentary for each encounter. Lance is at a loss. He thought he had things so well planned. The playful, stagey affair concludes with an MMA bout featuring Michaela, undisguised, and the Edge wearing a little gray spade beard to evoke his former champion's character. There are a few genuine gasps of recognition from the audience. Inexplicably, The ex-champ's blows do not seem to faze Michaela. She seems impervious. From the outset, her own shots find their marks with unerring precision. Time and again, the edge is rocked one way and the other. Blows you just can't fake are reducing him to a staggering human target. After several minutes non-stop abuse, he's let his guard down altogether and walks straight into a punishing right cross that cuts right through him. He hits the deck, out for the count, cheek squashed against the coarse, well-scuffed canvas. The edge has never felt better. He's returned home, bone-weary from an honest week's work. He's lulled by the crowd's distant roaring. He could drift off to sleep from this 8-count, head full of dreams, full of luxury and ease. The transitions, from beatings to stagecraft and back, have baffled most of those present. Michaela, though, has obviously had a ball. The blissful smiles she shows her audience win them over all over again. The innocence of her expression is strangely intense, verging manic. If there's an air of anticlimax, if the crowd's bloodlust remains only half sated, it phases Michaela not one bit. When she's peeled the vanquished edge up off the canvas, they take their bows, hand in hand, exchanging smiles. The edge's bloodied but untroubled visage complements Michaela's beaming Olympic podium exultation. There is some confusion as to whether that's all. Teddy bounces back in and works up some more resounding applause. When she's content they've given up their best, she offers her own ironic parting shot. "Well, all right then, Lucy. I recommend you all take this home and give it some thought. Don't be dwelling on what makes you mad now. Get your love on before things go bad. There'll be a pop quiz next week. Love your mothers. Now go on and get." Things are shutting down fast. "You must leave now. Take what you need. You think will last." The DJ peppers the departing crowd with an upbeat, updated Baby Blue. "Look out, the saints are coming through." Dylan's inimitable crooning is rendered effervescent in a cocktail electronic mix. The bar is closed and the big banks of fluorescent lighting start coming back on. One section of the space at a time, every minute or two the room is illuminated, the harsh light chasing the crowd out the front doors. Michaela, Lance, and the Edge have ducked out through the back room. They tumble out into the dark dead-end alley in a hot, sticky August night. With a bang, the steel fire door swings to behind them. At the street end of the alley, a hulking, jacked-up four-wheel drive blocks the way. The exhaust from its idling motor rises in an aura around it. Eyes not yet fully adjusted for the dark, the Edge nonetheless notices a figure crouching against the neighboring building's wall. The figure springs up with a shriek that startles Lance and Michaela. The big truck's rack-mounted spotlights flood the alleyway. A young woman struggles to button up her shorts beneath an oversized Miami Dolphins jersey that reaches almost to her bare brown knees. She can't take her eyes off Michaela, despite the trouble she's having with her fly. "Oh my God, y'all were amazing! You especially, girl! You so swag and bad!" She's flushed and beaming, this girl, her grin a little crazy and intense. She sweeps her big blonde bangs back from her face and finally succeeds with zipping her fly. The floodlit impromptu encounter has frozen them all in the alley's close confines. "You gotta give me your autograph. On my shirt here, would you? Henry, give me that Sharpie off the visor, babes." Chapter 65. The crowd has filtered out into the streets of St. Lucie. leaving inside only a select group, chosen on mysterious criteria, largely the bouncer's preference for peroxide blondes, combined with the less predictable predilections of entertainers and their hangers-on. For this in-crowd, there are final drinks and a license to debauch, until Leonora arrives to shut things down proper. Mono, the A-list actor and notorious metrosexual, has with him an entourage of about a dozen. They lead an assault on the bar next door, out-drinking the locals, making boisterous and generally twerking the night away. The Lucy will print a tasty bit of celebrity scandal this week. Lance represented Mono back before the performer's prime. They've maintained the kind of camaraderie peculiar to those who've risen from the trenches but still remember the stench. Mono eventually announces his desire to see a cockfight. Where can they do that? The group forges out of the bar and into a waiting pair of white Escalade stretch limos. As the limo's taillights disappear down the strip, Lucy doffs her party clothes and heads for bed. Lance, Michaela, and the Edge pass a Mickey of bourbon back and forth, basking in the afterglow of their success. The cab ride back to Fort Pierce includes a roadside pee stop where Michaela flaunts her stand-up pissing prowess. On their boozy arrival back home, she heads straight into the restroom to pee again. Sat on the toilet, she recalls her earlier alcohol-fueled times when she'd held her first boyfriend's dicks as they peed. It was just something she got a kick out of. She liked the superior aimability of the penis. Smiling a little lopsidedly, she rejoins Lance and the Edge in her living room. They look good in their Bond at Monte Carlo outfits. She's not about to go aiming these boys' dicks, but just thinking about it all gives her an amusing idea. She can maybe do it vicariously. She slows up on the booze, but keeps right in there with the celebratory, sometimes body carryings-on. As the boys make their chatty way through second and then third rounds of beer and tequila, Michaela reiterates how cool it was piloting her boyfriend's penises. At a certain point, the guys literally roll off the little love seat in Michaela's living room. They need another pee break. Michaela suggests the backyard, and giddily leads the way out herself. From her docked iPod, Sade is singing her sultry best. The eminently smooth vocal operator always makes Lance smile. She is the Swedish massage of popular songcraft, after all, synonymous with the sound of sensuality. How ironic that she shares her name with the man famous for writing the book on pleasure derived from inflicting torment. Sade and Desade. Desade and Sade. Lance is tripping, lost in an associative hinterland. With a little frisson, he realizes Michaela shares with the sultry songstress that same plush vocal timbre, at once subtly breathy and fulsome in its resonance. What if she could sing? Can she? It seems an impossibility, too incongruous with Michaela's other talents, too good to be true. It would make her a triple threat, beauty, brawn, and song. She'd be too much, shadistic or something. That is funny. Michaela Desade. And yet, that she could seduce with song is an idea so seductive in itself, Lance stops dead en route to the back door and asks her point blank, "Can I sing? That's a little random, isn't it?" "Well, can ya? And what if I can?" Come on, just sing along with this one." Oh, no. Or, yeah, maybe, sure, but it's gonna cost you. Come on, I thought you guys needed to go anyway. Then they are standing, drunk, squeezed onto the little rear stoop to Michaela's apartment. The darkness beyond the stoop is thick. The coastal night air is slightly fresher now in the not-so-wee hours. Okay, so here's how the game goes. 5 points for the long-distance pisser. 10 points for the aimer that fills his cup first. Points for style will be awarded at my discretion. A little complicated, maybe, but then bullshit baffles. Michaela has brought out a hefty bar glass for each guy. She plants them 3 feet apart in the sandy scrub out beyond the stoop, then climbs back up and fusses over positioning her men for the match. All right, flip 'em out, boys. Let's have us a pissin' match. The guys laugh, only slightly self-consciously. They steal glances at each other's expression in the dark. Then they zip down, making a big deal about fishing their members out. They're right on the brink, but stalling. Michaela waves them off with an air of exasperation. Okay, y'all aren't quite getting this. I ain't doing the pissing for you here. You take the other guy's hose and you get that stream out there, on the target. Lance and the Edge emit moans of apprehension at this. You aim the other guy, but control your own distance. You're doing it at the same time. It's a multitasker's competition. Whoever fills their cup first, I win. They search the shadows of Michaela's bangs for her expression, for some sign that she's maybe only kidding. She pantomimes irritated impatience. They stand there, Lance and the Edge, looking for all the world like a pair of drunk and disheveled bonds, still fumbling to get their dicks out in this sultry late summer night. Michaela is straining not to bust a gut and laugh. The Edge has his out now, but Lance is still lagging behind. What? Oh, I get it. You're worried I got some kind of agenda here. You think I'm trying to turn you gay or something? A little involuntary snort escapes the Edge. Lance produces a comically gruff guffaw. Kayla, no, Kayla, nothing. Now come on, you homophobic motherfuckers. Let's see us some piss. Kayla, come on. It's no different than steering the car while the driver does the brakes. The Edge can no longer suppress his laughter. Lance, worried he'll start pissing in his pants if this goes on much longer, struggles to remain calm. Suddenly, Michaela remembers her little gift, the DB-90, clamped securely about Lance's goods. She scrambles to provide him with an out. Jesus, I thought you guys would have more balls. And more loyalty, fuck. All right, back inside. Nobody pisses till they're ready to play the game. Michaela climbs back inside the sliding glass door. She pauses while the men suppress their giggles and struggle to zip up. They appear to be enjoying themselves too much. After a minute of their goofing, Michaela's lost her taste for the charade. She abandons them there, falling around in the dark. From inside, she listens a minute to their laughter. 1 minute more, then her own sense of humor dissipated, she goes back to the door. Okay, tee-hee-hee, ya bitches. But don't mess with your goddess. Don't mess. She slides the door shut and locks it. Finally, Lance taps on the glass and tries the lock. There's a pause, and then a blinding light as Michaela trains a powerful flashlight on their faces. The Edge takes Lance by the shoulder and steers him away from the porch step back into the dark. I think success has gotten to her head. Muted behind the glass door, The suavely suggestive tones of Steely Dan have replaced Sade. A tenor sax sings a melancholy lament, cut off mid-wail when the volume is killed altogether. The high-pitched frequencies of tree frogs and crickets fill the lull. A minute later, they try knocking again, to no avail. Oh yeah, she's pissed. All the lights in the place are out now. The darkness is complete, but for the horizon beyond the yard, just beginning to blue a little with the approach of dawn. The end of an eventful night. Strangely, left to their own devices, neither man has any desire to pee. Chapter 66. 12 hours prior, Jim's street heart was stymied. He despaired of making the world a better place, of succeeding in small ways, always trusting his efforts were not wasted. But the world does not need another civilized slave. If anything, there is a dearth of civilized leaders. The world's worthy leaders are, as ever, in scarce supply. Of those in positions of power, by far the majority lead by coercion. Functionaries execute on their orders by deception. To truly lead is to present opportunities. It is to enable others. Anything less is one form of misleading or another. It is uncivilized. But when has the world truly benefited by even its most willing slaves? A few more cooperative chefs would not spoil the broth. Too many following mindlessly, the too few leading mendaciously. Such is the recipe of our ruin. The late afternoon sunshine, thrice filtered through banks of blue-green glazing, glimmers in his crystal goblet of Chardonnay. The hotel's restaurant is sumptuous, not subtle. The service speedy, yet wanting in finesse. He's looked forward to entertaining the matron here. Since arriving in Miami, Jim's has called 3 times to her private number. Each time he postpones their meeting another hour, maybe 2. Each time he sends their agreed fee in full to compensate. He imagines the schoolmarm as his St. Peter at Heaven's Gate, a matron ferryman for all his crossing of the river Styx. He'll feel the world retreating in a barbiturate haze, even as he shares his final worldly-wise smiles with this eminently sympathetic woman. What he cannot imagine is how she might feel discovering his ruse. He wants to drift off in her arms. He toys with the little bottle of Seconal pills he's brought along with him. She can coddle him, tuck him in and kiss him good night, then leave, softly closing his hotel room door like a mother having bedded her child down for the night. Nothing to alarm her in any of that. Nothing to give him away. In her line, she has doubtless encountered stranger desires. She probably wouldn't even see the notice in the next day's news. But then she might. It is almost night, too late to travel on to Port St. Lucie. The ritual event there will transpire as it must, without his sacrifice. How Jim's had yearned to insinuate himself in that night's entertainment. But that would have proved impossible to orchestrate. To arrive opposite Michaela, appropriately disguised, metabolism already chemically compromised. But he would have savored the big girl's weight, crushing the life out of him, her fist delivering his death blow. Weren't her victims meant to submit meekly? Perhaps she'd have noticed nothing unusual. Folly. He'd have been discovered. The event would have unraveled. Even should he manage it, the girl's distress later, realizing he'd died at her hand. Legal ramifications. The media. Impossible. Jims feels every one of his 65 long years. He feels regret stabbing at his heart, the utter lack of family in his life. Feeling no more equal to fathering a brood than he did betrothing a goddess, Jims never married. Most of all, he feels futility for the project that has preoccupied him for 40 years and more. He calls a fourth time, cancels his pined-after tucking in for good. He does the matron a final courtesy, paying once more for her forbearance, then stashes away his little bottle of pills and ponders more meaningful ends, for himself and perhaps for his beloved society as well. Chapter 67. It's been quiet outside for a good while. In her pitch-black apartment, Michaela wonders at Lance and the Edge's apparent departure. Had she really intended to drive them off into the night? This particular night? At the onset of an ill-defined sadness, she shakes her head and heaves a weighty sigh. She stares vacantly at the Hopi dream catcher she's had for years. It hangs, barely visible against the deeper darkness beyond her bedroom window. She wants to call home. She knows now that she cannot be responsible for her mother. She simply wants to hear the woman's voice. She calls Brandy's number instead. It seems like no one is home there. Then Brandy picks up on the 7th ring. "Hey, it's me. Can I ask you something?" "Well, you're here now." There is a confused, scuffling sound as Brandy fumbles with her phone. In Michaela's space, there's only the whir and grind of her cheap-ass AC unit. "I'm sorry to bug you. I'll try and keep it short." "Ya think I'm gonna ignore my closest celebrity friend?" "Ha ha. I'm actually having massive misgivings about this whole celebrity project. You're a genuine queen of mean now yourself. Do you think any of this is going to come back to bite us in the ass?" "Kayla, the dogs of poverty might bite your ass. Our horny little puppies only bite if you ask them to." "Not what I'm talking about, and you know it." "No, Kayla, the gods of karma aren't going to bite your ass either." "You don't think we're getting just a little greedy?" "Kayla, there are 15-year-olds out there pulling down more than I can just keeping these losers company online. 5 minutes at a time." They smirk, giggle. They remind the guy he's a loser and she's a princess, and boom, instant paycheck. My God, Brandy, they're fucked up children with 0 sense of self-worth, let alone the worth of others. "Yeah, well, they're children with adult-sized bank accounts." "No, they're children with adult-sized psychological problems. The only saving grace is they're not organized." "They aren't, are they? Can you imagine a union for those self-entitled little sissy baiters? No real skills, no sense they even need 'em, just a knack for exploiting the vulnerable. Worse than the big corporations we bitch about." "Meh." Heavy, Kayla. You're on a downer tonight of all nights. I saw you up there taking your bows on the World Wide Web. You can't lighten up, even a little, even now?" "No, listen. Actually, I've been figuring things out pretty well lately. With a whole lot of help from my friends, of course." "Uh-huh. Yeah, listen. I want you to be the first to know. The Edge and I are heading out west. Going to L.A. and do stunts for film. Lance already said he'd work some contacts for us. Nice, honest living. Like I said, You're the first to know. I haven't even told Edgy yet. Kayla! Oh, what the fuck? I mean, you get some bad drugs at the after party or something. Just relax your goddess ass a minute, would you? Try and enjoy your success. Jesus, Brandy, are you fucking while we're talking? Maybe? Chapter 68. Lance and the Edge walk out along Michaela's road, headed for the coast and town. Their boozy, animated banter dissipated on the boundary of Michaela's lot. They've fallen into a silent rhythm. The ocean grows more audible and the sky less ebony as they go. Almost dawn. The air still warm, still carrying the sounds and scents of the night's final chapter. The Edge feels light, his steps effortless, head in a good space. Lance is tired. Fatally, crushingly tired. "Ballbuster," he hears it whispered. "She can be a bit of a ballbuster," Dick had said way back when. Well, she hasn't busted anything that wasn't already broken. The champ! He hears that, too. She'd only used it once, but he can still feel the sting of it. He'll always be the champ. Looking down at the Edge's cock had made things very clear. His own equipment, stowed away, squashed flat inside the DB-90. Manhood interrupted. A disturbing little joke. It's always been night on Michaela's road, and it never seems to end. Lance has never actually walked it before, but he knows this road well enough. Its brief interval to the shoreline, the Atlantic's deeps beyond. Michaela's road. He's discovered an endlessness in this interval. Road going nowhere till it turns around and he's headed back toward her once more. In a way, he's been walking Michaela's road ever since they met on Dick's rickety front porch with the Edge. But today just may be the worst. Walking her road locked up and locked out, without Michaela, the road becomes just a little too long to bear. Less than an arm's length separates pavement from the chaos of vegetation along the roadside. A big engine drones onto the night air, probably a truck. Headlights appear on the road behind them, back beyond Michaela's place. The whine of tires speeding over pavement approaches. Less than an arm's length. Lance lets the Edge step ahead on the road's meager soft shoulder. Gloomily, he follows on close behind. They'd have been safe if they'd crossed to the other side. Too late now. The engine works hard to reach them, rough justice churning in the big rig's wake. Lance throws a last look back when the roar has all but filled his head, the truck almost upon them. The Edge shoulders his way into the screen of cabbage palms beside the road, and Lance, relieved, follows suit as the big rig roars past. The leaves around them whip and shake, straining to free themselves and ride the air, vacuumed into vortices following the truck. Present danger past, they extricate themselves and fall back out onto Michaela's road. They are two hopeful travelers, night behind them, coffee on the horizon, sunrise about to bathe their faces.